I thought it was just another regular shift. Just me, my cart, and a messy room. But what I found next to the bed, let's just say it changed my life forever. I had no idea the man I just handed fresh towels to was royalty. Before I take you into this wild story of secrets, billions, and the craziest week of my life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you love real life twists, and turn on that bell so you don't miss what happens next. You know, I never thought my job would lead to anything exciting. I'm just a housekeeper, early 20s, trying to make rent and survive another day of dealing with people who forget that please and thank you still exist. I work at this hotel that's fancy enough to make you feel broke, but not so high end that you'd ever see a red carpet rolled out. Marble floors, yes. Champagne fountains, no. You get the picture. It's the kind of place where rich people stay when they don't feel like being watched. Quiet luxury. No flash, just a very subtle kind of flex. Most of the time, our guests are just regular rich folks. Businessmen glued to their phones, influencers trying to act like they're not taking selfies, and the occasional couple who can't agree on anything. You get used to it. You start recognizing types. You learn how to disappear in a room while still seeing everything. That's part of the job. Anyway, this day, I remember it so clearly. It was raining, hard. The kind of rain that makes the windows cry and the city feel like it's underwater. The lobby smelled like wet umbrellas and lemon polish. I was working a double shift because two girls had called out sick. So, yeah, I was tired. Not, oh, I could use a nap, tired. I mean that bone deep, dragging my feet, coffee has stopped working kind of tired. I'd been up and down the halls all day, flipping sheets, scrubbing bathtubs, picking up towels that looked like they'd been through a war zone. My hair was frizzed up from the humidity, my feet were screaming, and I had just one room left to clean. Just one. Room 1703, top floor. I remember looking at my cart, sighing, and thinking, okay, girl, get it over with. I didn't know it yet, but stepping into that room was about to change everything. Funny how life doesn't give you a warning. No sign, no music swelling in the background. Just you, a mop, and a door that opens to something completely unexpected. Room 1703 was one of the bigger suites, not the penthouse. That's reserved for celebs or like government people. But still, real nice. Double doors, living area, floor to ceiling windows, the kind of room that whispers, you don't belong here, but you walk in anyway because it's your job. I knocked twice, waited the standard 10 seconds, then swiped my key card. The green light blinked and I pushed the door open. Usually by now, the guests are gone. Most people don't want to hang around while someone vacuums under their socks. But this time, it was different. The room was dim. Curtains were still drawn. A quiet hum came from the bathroom, like the shower had just been turned off. Steam rolled out a little. That's when I heard it. A man's voice calling out softly, "One moment, please." I froze, not in fear, just surprised. I was mid-step, holding a bundle of fresh towels. Normally, if a guest is still inside, I offer to come back later. But he spoke so politely, I just said, "No worries, take your time. I'll just get started with the room." He came out of the bathroom a few minutes later. He had a towel draped over his shoulders, wearing one of those plush white robes we give the VIP guests. He looked calm, not in a lazy way, more like comfortable, like someone used to being waited on but didn't act like it. He gave me a little nod. "Good morning. I hope I'm not in your way." His voice had an accent I couldn't quite place, soft but proper. Maybe British, but with something else layered underneath. I smiled and said, "Not at all. I'm almost done." Then something odd happened. He looked me in the eye, like really looked. Not in a creepy way, more like acknowledgement. Most people barely glance at me. I'm invisible in that uniform. But he looked at me like I mattered. I kept cleaning. As I moved around the suite, I started noticing things. His cologne, it wasn't anything I recognized. It smelled expensive, warm, spicy, with this sharp note at the end. On the desk, there was a leather-bound notebook with gold trimming. Inside, I saw handwriting, not English. Arabic, maybe? The closet door was open a crack. I saw suits inside, tailored, sharp lines, rich fabric, not the kind of stuff you pick off a rack at Macy's. On the side table was a phone, not just any phone, a luxury smartphone I'd seen once in a magazine. Gold edges, sapphire buttons. Yeah, that kind of rich. And yet, he didn't act it. He asked me how my day was going, thanked me again when I handed him the towels, even smiled when I laughed nervously after bumping my knee on the coffee table. The weird thing is, none of it felt fake. He wasn't putting on a show. If anything, it felt like he was used to being ignored and was just happy someone treated him normal. Still, I left that room thinking, huh, that guy's different. I didn't know how different. Not yet. Over the next few days, I kept seeing him. Same room, same calm energy, same polite tone. He wasn't a long-term guest exactly, but he was booked for almost a week, which is longer than most. Every morning, I'd pass his door with my cart, and without fail, he'd open it just as I was about to knock. It was almost like he knew when I was coming. The first time it happened, I laughed and said, "You psychic or something?" He just smiled this small, warm smile and said, "Just good at noticing patterns." Okay, fine. That was kind of charming. After that, it became a thing. Every morning, I'd say, "Good morning, room 1703." And he'd say, "Good morning, miss." He paused once, like he wanted to know my name, but didn't want to be rude. I told him, "It's Nia." From then on, it was always, "Good morning, Miss Nia." Weird, right? Not many hotel guests ask your name, let alone remember it. Usually it's just, "Hey, you missed a towel," or "Can you come back later?" But him, always polite, always present. But the weirdest part? The bodyguards. Not all the time, but every now and then, I'd catch a glimpse of them. Big guys in dark suits, standing just out of sight near the elevator. One even nodded at me once, like he knew I worked there. I asked one of the front desk girls if we had a celebrity staying on my floor, but she shrugged. "Some VIP from overseas," she said. "Real hush-hush. You know how it is." Okay, so something was up. That explained the quiet security and the weird phone and the closet full of clothes that looked like they belonged on a royal runway. Then there was the food. Room service orders that made no sense. Caviar, imported water, fruit that had to be flown in from somewhere. I once delivered a cart to his room and peeked at the bill. Over $1,200, just for lunch. And yet, he talked to me like I was a person, asked me if I liked working here, asked what I really wanted to do. When I told him I used to love art and design, he said, "That makes sense. You have a good eye for detail." That caught me off guard. I mean, who says that to someone holding a bottle of toilet cleaner? One day, I found a book on his table, an art book, full of design inspiration and architectural sketches, pages folded in, notes written in the margins. I swear it was like he left it there on purpose, like he wanted me to see it. It was subtle, but I was picking up on something. This man wasn't just kind. He noticed things, details, people. He didn't just throw money around. He was watching the world around him, maybe hiding in it. And still, even with all the signs, I had no clue who he really was. But that was about to change. It was the middle of the week when everything shifted. I had just come off my break, half a sandwich, a warm soda, and 5 minutes of peace in the storage room. When I got back to my cart, There was a little folded envelope sitting right on top. At first, I thought maybe someone had dropped a complaint or something, but when I picked it up, it had my name written in this really neat handwriting. Just Nia. That already had me confused. I opened it, and inside was cash. Not like a couple of bills, not a 20 or a 50. 10 $100 bills, perfectly stacked, and a small card that just said, "For your grace and hard work. Thank you, Kay." My hands actually started shaking. I looked around like someone was playing a prank on me. I even checked the hallway cameras in my head, like, did I miss someone watching me? I ran to the front desk and asked if they knew anything. One of the managers looked at the envelope, raised her eyebrows, and said, "Oh, that's from 1703. He asked us to make sure it reached you if he didn't see you today." I stood there for a second, just holding the envelope like it was radioactive. I didn't even know what to say. I had gotten tips before, sure. $5 here, 10 if someone was feeling extra generous. But $1,000? That's not a tip. That's life-changing money. At first, I thought it was a mistake, like maybe he mixed me up with someone else, or maybe it was some kind of test. But the card had my name, and that one letter at the end, K. Now I was really curious. So I did what any normal person with a curious brain and a Wi-Fi connection would do. I Googled him. I remembered seeing his full name on a delivery slip one day. Just once. Super long, like 6 words. Started with Khalid something. At the time, I thought it was a booking error. But that night, I typed it in. Slowly, carefully. And when I hit search, I swear my jaw hit the floor. He was a prince, an actual billionaire prince, from a royal family in the Middle East. Oil money, real estate, private jets, properties in London, New York, Dubai. His net worth? Over $3 billion. I sat on the edge of my tiny twin bed, just staring at the screen. This whole time, I'd been handing towels to a man who could buy the entire hotel without blinking, and I had absolutely no idea. That's when all the little signs started clicking into place. The bodyguards, the cologne, the perfectly folded clothes, the way he listened, the way he saw people. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even embarrassed. I was fascinated. Because here's the thing, he never once acted like he was better than me. Not once. And that tip? It wasn't just money. It was a message. He saw me. After that night, everything felt different. I still showed up to work, still pushed my little cart down the hall, still greeted guests with the same tired but polite smile. But now, every time I passed room 1703, my heart beat a little faster. I couldn't unknow it. He wasn't just some charming guest anymore. He was a prince, a real one, a man whose family name popped up in articles about luxury skyscrapers, world summits, and international charities. I even found a photo of him standing next to the King of England. The King? And I'd been wiping down his bathroom counter like it was just another Tuesday. It was hard not to overthink everything. Had I said anything dumb? Did I come off too casual, too chatty? But when I really thought about it, I realized something strange. He'd been relieved by the way I treated him. Looking back, it all made sense. The little smile he'd give me when I joked, the way he always made time for a short conversation, the way he'd stop and ask how my day was, like it actually mattered to him, not in a rich man playing nice kind of way. It felt real, genuine, like being treated normally was a break for him. And I started seeing those early moments with new eyes, like how he noticed my design sketches on the corner of my notebook once. I had just left it on my cart by accident, pages full of random hotel room layouts I like to dream up. He asked, "Did you draw these?" I told him I did, embarrassed. He nodded and said, "You have vision." At the time, I thought it was just small talk. Now, it felt like something more, like he saw past the uniform. One day, I watched from a distance as one of his security guys opened the car door for him. A blacked out SUV, quiet, powerful. He got in, nodded at me through the window, and the car pulled away like a shadow. That's when it hit me. He'd been hiding in plain sight. He wasn't there to be seen. He was there to disappear. And somehow, during all that hiding, he still made me feel seen. I remember sitting in the staff lounge later that evening, holding that gold-trimmed note again, reading the same sentence over and over. For your grace and hard work, not for my position, not for my service, but for me, for how I carried myself, for how I treated others, for who I was underneath it all. It's crazy, right? The richest man I'd ever meet. Might have been the most humble, too. And I knew deep down he hadn't just left a tip. He left a mark. He left a story I'd never forget. His checkout day came faster than I expected. I wasn't even scheduled to clean that floor, but I asked the supervisor if I could cover it. I didn't tell her why. I just said I was used to that section. Truth was, I wanted to say goodbye. I didn't know if I'd even get the chance, but I figured if fate brought him into my life once, maybe it would give me one last moment. Around 10 a.m., I pushed my cart to 1703. This time, I didn't knock. I just waited quietly outside. After a minute or so, the door opened, just like always. He stood there, dressed in a tailored black suit, suitcase by his side, bodyguard lingering a few steps behind. He looked sharp, regal, honestly, but still warm. He smiled. Miss Nia. Good morning, sir, I said. Then I added, checking out today? Unfortunately, yes. There was a small pause. I don't know what made me say it, but I blurted out, I know who you are. He looked at me for a second, like really looked. No panic, no awkwardness, just a kind of calm acceptance. Then he nodded once and said, I thought you might. I smiled nervously. Why didn't you say anything? He tilted his head slightly, a little amused. Because I didn't want to be treated differently, and because you didn't. That hit harder than I expected. I felt my throat tighten, so I just nodded. Well, thank you for the tip, for the book, for everything. He chuckled softly. You're welcome, but you should know, what I gave you wasn't charity. It was recognition. Then he reached into his coat pocket and handed me a small black envelope. He didn't explain what was inside, just said, Don't open it until after I'm gone. Promise? I nodded. We stood there for a second longer. Just quiet. Just present. Then he said, You have a rare gift, Nia. Most people see only what's in front of them. You see around corners. Don't let this job or this world dim that. He extended his hand, and I shook it. It felt more like a farewell between equals than anything else. And just like that, he walked away. Down the hallway, into the elevator, out of my life. I stood there for a few minutes, just holding that envelope, heart racing. When I finally opened it, all it had inside was a handwritten note and a small business card. The note said, When you're ready to stop cleaning rooms and start designing them, call this number. K. The card had no title, no job description, just a private contact and an international address. My hands shook. I had no idea what would happen next. But I knew something had shifted. That wasn't just a guest. That was a door opening. I didn't call the number right away. I kept that card in my wallet like it was made of glass, something too delicate to touch until the moment felt exactly right. Life didn't magically change overnight. I still had rent to pay, still showed up to the hotel with aching feet and a forced smile, still nodded politely to people who never saw me. But something inside me had shifted. It was like, after meeting him, After that final note, I couldn't pretend I was invisible anymore. He saw me, and now I had to see myself. So I started doing something I hadn't done in a long time, dreaming. I pulled out my sketchbook again, started drawing in the break room during lunch, hotel layouts, lobby spaces, color schemes, mood boards. I watched design videos after work, studied luxury spaces, taught myself how to use free design software on my cracked old laptop. Every day I told myself, you're not just a cleaner, you're a creator. And the weirdest thing, people started noticing. A manager asked where I got the idea to rearrange the towels in a more elegant way. A guest complimented the scent choices I'd made for their room. It was like, piece by piece, the dream version of me was leaking into the real world. Still, I was scared to make the call. What if it was a joke? What if he didn't really mean it? What if I wasn't good enough? But one night, after a particularly rough shift, dealing with a rude guest who yelled at me over a stain I didn't even cause, I sat on the edge of my bed, pulled out the card, and whispered, "You didn't come this far to stay scared." I dialed. The voice on the other end wasn't his. It was a woman, calm, professional. She asked my name, then put me on hold. A moment later, another voice came through. It was him. "Miss Nia," he said, like we'd just spoken yesterday. I told him I was ready. He didn't ask for a resume. He didn't ask for a portfolio. He just said, "Good. I was hoping you'd call." He connected me with someone on his team, an interior design firm he worked with on global properties, hotels, resorts, even private estates. They were hiring junior designers. He said he'd already spoken to them about me. I wasn't guaranteed a job, but I'd be considered, fairly. 3 weeks later, I was flown out for an interview. I wore my best thrifted blazer, held my breath the whole time, and walked into that office like I belonged, even though I was shaking inside. And somehow, they hired me. I'm still learning, still growing. But I'm not cleaning rooms anymore. I'm designing them. Because one man saw potential where most people saw a maid. Because someone believed in me before I believed in myself. Because the door opened and I walked through it. It's been almost 2 years now since that day in the hallway, since the black envelope, since room 1703. Sometimes I still wake up and have to remind myself it wasn't all a dream. I'm not putting on a housekeeper uniform anymore. I don't push a cart down endless hallways or scrub bathtubs while listening to other people's lives behind their doors. Now I sit at my own desk, in an office where my opinion matters. I work on projects that will be seen by thousands of people. I help choose colors, textures, light, space, all the little things that make a room feel like a home or a moment or a memory. Sometimes I get quiet and ask myself, how did I get here? And the answer always takes me back to him, not just because he had money, not because he gave me a tip that changed my month, but because he did something that no one else had ever really done for me. He saw me. He looked past the apron, the gloves, the title. He noticed my kindness, my curiosity, my creativity, even when all I showed him was a few sketches in a tattered notebook. He paid attention in a world where most people don't. And because of that, I started seeing myself differently too. I think the biggest lesson I learned from all of this isn't about luck or chance. It's about being ready, about staying open, about doing your best even when no one is watching. Because someone might be, someone who can change your whole life. You never know who you're talking to, who you're helping, who you're standing in front of. That man could have ignored me, could have treated me like every other guest did. Instead, he chose kindness. He chose to speak to me, not at me. And he left behind a gift far more valuable than money, a sense of purpose I didn't even know I needed. Now, when I design a room, I always think about the people who'll walk into it, the ones who clean it, live in it, escape into it. And I try to design not just for the rich, but for the real. Because I was that girl once. I still am in some ways, just a little louder now, a little braver, a little more seen. So, to the billionaire prince in room 1703, thank you. Not just for the money, not just for the job connection, but for the belief, for proving that real power doesn't come from wealth. It comes from noticing someone that the world forgets. And to anyone listening to this right now, you are not invisible. You matter. And your story isn't over yet. If I could go back and sit with the younger version of me, the girl who pushed that heavy cleaning cart down those hotel hallways, who smiled at strangers who never looked back, who saved every tip just to keep the lights on, I'd hold her hands and tell her this: you are not small. You are just unseen. For now. I'd tell her that those long shifts, the backaches, the days where her kindness felt wasted, they weren't for nothing. I'd tell her every time she made a bed with extra care, or folded towels into a perfect fan, or smiled even when no one deserved it, it was shaping something powerful inside her, grace. I'd tell her not to let the uniform define her, not to mistake invisibility for unworthiness. I'd tell her to keep sketching, even if no one sees the pages yet, to keep dreaming, even when the world tells her that dreams belong to someone else. Because the truth is, the world doesn't always reward goodness right away. It doesn't clap for quiet strength. But someone, somewhere, is watching. And when that moment comes, the moment your light is finally seen, it'll feel like everything clicks into place. And I'd whisper this too: when the door opens, walk through it. Don't hesitate. Don't shrink. Go. You see, there was a time when I thought being a housekeeper meant I had failed somehow, that I had landed in a job and lost my future. But now I know the truth. That job was the classroom I didn't know I needed. It taught me patience, humility, presence. It taught me how to notice small things, how to care about details. And it brought me to the very person who would change everything with one sentence, one envelope, one act of radical kindness. So to my younger self, hold on. You're stronger than you think. You are building something that no one can take away from you. And to anyone listening who might feel stuck, unseen, or unworthy right now, this is for you too. You are not your title. You are not your paycheck. You are not the way people treat you when they think they're more important. You are the way you keep showing up, with grace, with effort, with hope. And if no one's told you this yet today, I see you. I really do. So keep going, keep becoming, keep believing, because your room 1703 moment, it's coming. So here I am, not in a uniform, not with a cleaning cart, but with a dream I never thought I'd be allowed to chase. And all because one man who had every reason to ignore me chose to see me instead. He didn't have to talk to me, didn't have to remember my name. He could have been like every other rich guest, silent, distant, untouchable, but he wasn't. He treated me like a human being. He left behind more than a tip. He left behind belief. And that belief became the spark that lit up everything I had buried inside me. If you've ever felt stuck, overlooked, like the world only values people with big titles or bigger bank accounts, please hear me when I say this. You never know who's watching. You never know which ordinary day will become the one that changes everything. So keep showing up. Keep giving your best, even when no one claps for it. Keep dreaming, even if your dreams feel impossible right now, because sometimes the universe hides magic inside the most unexpected places. Sometimes the billionaire is behind a hotel door, and sometimes the designer is hiding inside the maid. If this story touched you, please like, share, and comment below with "I'm still dreaming," so others know they're not alone. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more true, powerful stories from voices that don't always get heard. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.